Thank you. So this afternoon we are going to talk about best practice guidelines and the European registration of collections. I don't want to show you the EBB recommendation one by one. I just would like to obtain feedback from you about those recommendations, difficulties to implement them in your activities. We already talked about the ABS status. What I would like to do is to obtain also your feedback on, is it clear for you? And so I prepared some slides to talk about this, but what I would like is to have discussions about this. I won't do everything myself. So we start just on an introduction of EMBRC. So ABS in EMBRC, so we work on this topic since many years. We are facing challenges to create and reinforce standard internal processes and to develop new technical tools to operate EMBRC services in compliance with the ABS system. So EMBRC helps contributing in simplifying Navy international system within the infrastructure and in offering an ABS safe environment for its services, user, partners, and providing countries. So what we want is really to build this safe environment for everyone in order to make sure that science become transparent. So we would like to provide a safe environment, and it could help in formulating simplified measures with the providing countries regarding accessing the resources. I can take the example of EMBRC. So EMBRC is a genomic observatory. It's a pilot project in EMBRC in which we exercise due diligence for all sites that sample and as everything is centralized in EMBRC, we can engage discussion to negotiate with some countries to simplify the ABS mechanism, and we obtain a simplification in France. So this example I would take to explain that if we centralize, if we are working as a single biological resource center, we could simplify this kind of complex system. So this is just to explain that ABS is in the core mission of EMBRC. In our mission, it's written that our mission is to raise, profile, and promote the sustainable utilization of marine bioresources. In our daily task, we support access to marine biomaterial. We provide advice and guidance. And also in the ethical policy, we assist users and node for ABS compliance. Recently, let's say in the last year, some decisions were taken and they will have an impact on ABS compliance. We turned the ABS working group into traceability working group, which means that discussions in this working group are wider than ABS. It's more about open science, verification of resource and data, which means more discussion about accessibility of bioresources, data, and how to reuse them. Also, the General Assembly has launched an open, fair, and care strategy focused on stewardship and traceability of bioresources and data in EMBRC. So you will hear about it later. And as I said, in the EMBRC project, France has recognized EMBRC as a single collection in the sense of ABS, which means that we can use internally samples from M1, and contrary to what we said this morning, the responsibility of the due diligence will be on EMBRC and not on user in this specific case. And this is what we would like to use to extend this system in other countries to simplify the ABS. But this will be for the future. So challenges. In challenge, I can say I just read it. ABS compliance needs nodes research operators, so the university and research organizations. They have skills or competencies to include ABS in contract, for example, and we really need their competency to build our trust system. And so ABS compliance in the EMBRC is paving the way for a truly single European distributed biological resource center. This is what we would like to obtain in some years. We really want to obtain a network that is harmonized, works together with a similar process. I do not say it's easy, but this is what we would like to do because it will help us to, let's say, simplify some difficulties we might have, like ABS. So today the discussion will be on how to build this safe environment for suppliers, users, and providing countries of bioresources. So I said I would like to have some feedback. It will be about the status, about how we could improve traceability in your activities, and also about the European registration of collections. So we will start with the ABS status. I will start with tools developed in EBB. So in the EBB project, so I was saying that in usually I have something to oh no, I did that. So this slide is just to show you tools that were developed in EBB, and within EMBRC we would like to sustain those tools.
Perdona, Adrián, vete aquí a pase de diapositiva. Quiero quitarle esta, sí. Ah, de la letra. Sí, esa es la cosa. Transición entre diapositivas. Ninguna. Abajo arriba, ahora ninguna. Ninguna, ¿no? Ahora. Al principio ya está. Voy a darle a esta, a ver si me deja ahora. Voy a quitarlas todas.
So this is only this is only an overview of tools that were developed in EBB. And the purpose now is to, in the EBB extension, is to link those tools together. So it is what Jan presented this morning.
Okay, yeah. I hope that is solved.
Okay, thank you. So in EBB, there were different guides for ABS compliance that were developed. You should probably know the guide for ABS compliance for institutions, which is which show a recommendation for institutions and collections. And there's also another guide for users, which shows the different steps for being ABS compliant. Then there were also development of training webinars on ABS. We in the EBB project, we would like to turn those webinars into a kind of courses on ABS. So we probably present only a plan to show what we want to do on those courses at the end of the project. I will not talk about the catalog bioresources trace because we talked about it this morning, and also we talked about track a little bit. What is important in this slide is that there were bioresource passports were developed. A minimum set of data was developed as well to know what are the data, what minimum data required to have an harmonized passport, I would say. And in parallel, in the first EBB project, I made an inventory of origin countries and their respective ABS respective restrictions, which means that I identify in your collections where your sample come from and in which country we might have ABS restrictions and in which country there is nothing, there is no restriction. So now I was about to say that the purpose to link all those tools together, but Jan showed this morning that it is already done with Trace. Our purpose will be to update those information because the ABS status that we presented this morning are not updated. The ABS restriction might change over time. Countries that are not party to the Nagoya Protocol might become parties to the Nagoya Protocol years after years, so we need to update this file regularly, and this is what I'm going to do in the next month. And what we did not develop in the EBB project was legal documents like contract. We have a model for material transfer agreement, for example, but it's just a model, a template. And if you want to use it, we need, as I said in the introduction, we need the competency of operators. They need to validate it to be able to use this tool. So this is something we should develop in the future as well, and to create link with operators to do so. This slide was about the passport, resource passport, about information to put in the passport, but we already talked about data this morning. The important thing here was to show you that the ABS status is in the passport. It's important when you provide resources to users that get those information in order to exercise their due diligence. As we have seen this morning, in the passport or in Trace website, they're also linked to the ABS Clearinghouse website to provide the official information to users, and they're also linked to the step-by-step guides for users that we developed in EMBB. It's important that users also get this guide because it explains everything they need to know to be ABS compliant. So I said this morning I didn't plan to present those tools, but I think we have time since we already talked about ABS status this morning. So I just don't know if you, or maybe not, because so if the slide works, okay. So this is mostly information for users, not for collection, because as a collection, I consider that you only provide resources, you do not use them. But if you use them, someday you need also to know this. So on the ABS website, you have all the information, all the official information you need to know if what you need to do to be ABS compliant. So you have a list of the countries that are party of the Nagoya Protocol or not party of the Nagoya Protocol. In green, they are parties. If you click on a country, you will have different kind of information. What is important, so the first link, the first section about ABS national focal points will provide you the contact to request information about do you need authorizations. So here are the contacts, and in the last, so you might have sometime information or directly about legislation. But at the end of the section, you also have a report on the implementation of Nagoya Protocol in this country, and this might help you also to know if there is any restriction in the country. For example, in that one, if you go down until you can see a question about the PIC here. So is access to genetic resources subject to a PIC, which is a prior informed consent? In this country, they said yes, you need a PIC. There is a PIC in place. So you need to contact the national focal point. So in order to obtain this prior informed consent and negotiate also as the benefit sharing. So can do this with all countries in order to know if you need authorization to use bioresources in your project. And then also they are linked to the step-by-step guide for users. And I won't go into details, but just to show you the different steps they can follow. So there is some information about ABS, what it is, what is the due diligence, so some information very quickly that they need. And then there is 6 questions they need to answer to know what to do in their project. So the first step would be to check the resource IDs in ABS information. So this is the passport that you will provide to users. So this is why it's important that get those information. So it's the first step. They need to know, they need to identify those information to know if they need further authorization. Then they need to determine whether the project is subject to ABS thanks to the previous information. Each step we provide some action or tips to do so. then the third step is to gather information, the official information by contacting the national focal points on the website I just showed you previously. The fourth step will be to write to them, and in order to negotiate the prior informed consent and the mutually agreed terms when it is applicable, because sometimes it's not applicable and you do not need to do this. Again, there is some tips for this. We always recommend to contact if you have a department in your operators that can help you in this kind of stuff. And the last step will be to declare if you are in scope of the ABS regulation. You will need also to declare your due diligence if you're in Europe. And the last step is to keep a trace of all your documentation for 20 years, and this is very important to keep proof that you exercise your due diligence. So this was for users, and it's very important then have this information to know what to do. And now, so it is in this slide that I would like to launch discussion. We already talked about the ABS status, but we did not go into details. So the question is this information clear for you? Because we will put this information on the website. We still need to discuss about the right sentence. It needs to be the more accurate and the more easier possible. But is this information clear for you? So we said that when we provide the bioresources to someone, we will provide the information if there is nothing to do related to ABS, because we identify that in this country there is no regulation, no restriction. So it might be because it is not a country, this country is not party to the Nagoya Protocol, and there is no ABS-like authorization in this country. It's also possible that it's a country in which that is party to the Nagoya Protocol, but with no ABS authorization in place, with no restriction in place. It's possible that this country is party to Nagoya Protocol, but is the same thing. So in this case, and just a remark for Jan, to me the difference is in the brackets. So I do not know. Maybe this is. I need to show details what you showed this morning. I need to look at how is this working. But to me, in the bracket, it would be something in the remark. Because in a country that is party to Nagoya Protocol but has no restriction, maybe for different reasons, so maybe we should explain the reason in the remark. So because there is no legislation in place, or because there is a legislation in place but it was collected before, or because there is an exception. So this remark is important, but I need to know how you did it in trace, how we can label this. And finally, I had a last remark. Yeah, it was about this is text that is on the website, on Trace website right now. We talked about retroactive legislation, so maybe we need to find another term, because legislation cannot be technically retroactive, so we should find a way to say the same thing. We talked about it later, but this is my remark, and we need to find the right content. And as the last, so the last reason to be a green resources would be that we do not know the origin of the country, but it was sampled before 2014, or we should also go further in this explanation, because There is other reason that we could use resources without a known country when it's, how I can say, when it's a model organisms that has been exchanged in several labs, and you cannot know the origin because you use it from many years. But we need to validate the right text here. Is it clear for you? Do you understand what I'm talking about? And do you think we should write all of this on the website, or we just need to say if it's green, it means that you can use resources? Do you have any idea?
For a start, maybe the question is how many of you actually at the moment give some information to your users about, so question?
No, sorry. No.
Yeah, so how many of you actually at the moment do give some information to your users about ABS? Do you actually do that at the moment?
With the MTA at the moment. And now in the new website, we will put in the scope or out of the scope. Just because of the date we collected samples. Not more at the moment.
Okay.
So you give in scope, out of scope, but you don't explain why.
Exactly. At the moment, we do it like this, and in the MTA, we explain what are the duties that they have to have, because most likely our strains are coming from some Spanish resources, genetic resources. So there is a special or legislation for the use of these strains, so we have to inform. So we inform about the ABS and also of this legislation of the use of the strains, and what we will come out with the new catalog will be in a scope or out of the scope, and it is like this in the MIRI catalog, but no more information out of that at the moment.
Okay. Anyone else?
In the MIRI catalog, they say if it's in scope or out of scope?
In scope or out
Okay.
of the scope.
But, I mean, that's the equivalent of yes or no, presumably.
Yeah. It would be interesting to discuss with them.
Sometimes no. I have seen that out of the scope because of the date. It was nothing else. No more.
Yeah, so that would be equivalent to one of the answers on the green here.
Yeah, just only one.
Okay, and it depends on which scope we are talking about. Is it a European regulation or national regulation? So this might be a bit tricky. Okay.
Anyone else in Norway?
We are number 2 there on the green.
So you use this system? Yeah.
And I just find it quite clear to have all the explanations, because it makes sense when you're used to dealing with this. It's always nice to see why. It's yes, but it doesn't matter in the end, as long as it's yes or no. but
yeah,
but for me, I think it's okay to see the explanation. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the question is because
in any case, we have this information because we need this information, us, to work out whether it is yes or no. So we have this information. The question is giving it to users confusing them more than informing them, or do you think? I don't think so. I think, I think it's, as you say, it's good to know, to give an explanation of why you think it's a yes or a no, or in scope or out of scope. But so it's possible that, by doing this, you're confusing the users more than anything else.
Sorry, again, have you, maybe for someone that is from far from the biobank world, I think that that will be very useful for the user, because even whatever you are going to do with the bioresources, either research and development or even more than that, I think that if in the first place you have this clear, if it is yes, but why yes, like in which case, which scenario is that giving you yes or no, or yeah, those, it's important, because afterwards that will be clearer for you to know which process do you need to follow afterwards. So I think that it will be, but the thing is, if you are using it now, but the other biobanks are just using yes or no out of the scope or in the scope, I mean, I don't know if that will be interesting for you to harmonize the way you are going to present it to the user. That will be the, question.
I mean, that's kind of the point of this workshop, is to see if there are things to harmonize. I don't know. So Miri has a harmonized policy on this, or?
We can share the document, and we can have an example of the Miri already catalog that is published. So there's only scope or not scope.
And what happens if you're in EMBRC and Miri and both have a policy?
I think the ABS policy is the same for
yeah,
both.
I think the policy is the same but maybe the way of presenting it is not the same.
But I think it will not be contrary. You have more explanation here for the users, which is fine. And in the other way around, there's yes or no. But it's fine, because we already have more bioresources than marine ones. So could be that we could split between freshwater and marine waters, but I don't think it would be nice to do it.
I mean, I don't think it makes any difference if it's freshwater or marine.
In the case of EBS policy, it would be the same. I think it's not bad to have it, to have the explanation. Can also copy this.
I mean, that's a question. I don't know. Have you had any contact with Miri?
We have contacts, and we want to harmonize or just discuss this with them. We just did not find time to do so yet.
So I think it'd be good if EMBRC and Miri talked. And so I say, I think probably the substance is exactly the same, but it's just the
tricky things is that this does not look easy, but this is a simplified version. And if we say it is in scope or out of scope, in scope does not mean many things, because it might be in scope. It will depend on the type of use, the type of resource, the date of collection, if there is any exception, and all of this might change the result if you need authorization or not. So even in our system, it's a simplification. We do not want to go into details, and even here, we want to make it accurate, but we lose information.
Basically, if there can be a doubt, we put it in orange.
Okay.
So the green is basically only the things where there is no doubt about it.
Give you an example. In Switzerland, if this has not changed, You do not need to do nothing if it's for a fundamental research, but if it's for commercial research, you will need a declaration. And so it might be green or orange, and we decided to put all those countries in orange, even if you might be out of scope. So it's just green is just if we are sure there is nothing to do in any case. But this is why we want to know if this is understandable. And I think it is, and you. Okay, and for you, it's good to know why it's out of scope or in scope. But this is the information we will put on the website. But obviously, when we provide the resources, even if it is not on the website, we explain why it is green or why it is not green. So this is only the question is only on the website what we want to show.
This is very important because until this moment, I think this is very important because until this moment, my idea, the idea that I have, the biggest part of collections put yes or no and give the responsibility to the end user. Okay, it's your responsibility. It's something like that. Maybe now we can try to explain more and give more information about this, and not to give, don't give the responsibility only for the end user.
Yeah, for now, the purpose is just to support their due diligence, but it's not to do it for them. They still have to check that this is accurate because the responsibility is the user's responsibility.
Yeah, but it's...
But in the next step, we could imagine that this helps us to take their responsibility. But this is, we will talk about it later today. Okay, so thank you. Any other remark?
Only one last comment. As far as I remember, every country has their own rules also for the application of the ABS. I mean, for example, I always remember in Spain, if you are going to use the resource for taxonomical purposes, there no way you can use it. I don't know if in France is the same.
Not so much, but I know I can see what your question is, but that would make it too complicated.
Yeah,
so but in that case,
at the end, we will have to do it.
But in that case of Spain, they would be orange always. And it would be the user would have to contact Spain, and Spain would tell them if you're doing taxonomy, there's no... Okay. I mean, we do in some or quite a lot of cases, like Spain, we do know that information, but I think it would be too complicated to build it into a system like this, because then you would have to ask the users what they're doing with it before you give them a reply. And
yeah, we can imagine we can do specific color for specific resources, but if it's for a specific purpose, it is more complicated to.
I mean, what you could do, I guess, is on the trace site where you have the country stickers, we could add a remark, and you could put in the remark for that country. Spain would be orange, but you could put in a remark. Note that if you are using taxonomy.
It was my first idea, but it's more difficult to ensure that this is very accurate, and it might change, and also is there a part of interpretation, so I do not want to go into details for the legislation of more than 100 countries.
No, but you wouldn't have to do it for every country, but where you do know it, as like is the case in Spain, you could just put a note saying, note that, you know, if you're doing taxonomy.
Yeah, I see what you mean. So this is something to discuss and to validate.
From the point of view of a user of biological resources, I think this information is quite useful, because we have to deal with all the Nagoya requirements, and I can tell you that most of the users of biological resources have not a single clue about what this is. So this can shed some light, because you have to gradually learn what is the Nagoya protocol and what involves for your work. And for us, for instance, that we are on the border of what is commercial use and non-commercial use, these kind of hints are quite useful because they help you to gradually become familiar with all the procedures that the Nagoya Protocol involves. And yes, I would keep it on the webpage.
Okay, thank you.
Just one comment. I like the fact that your last category in the green, so no information on country of origin, but the resource was sampled pre-Nagoya. I think that's good, but because there are some countries where it would be retroactive, and if you don't know where it comes from, it might have come from one of those countries.
I agree. This is the text. It's a copy-paste from the website, but we still need to change or to decide what is the right sentence to write.
Yeah.
So this is not the final version.
I think we should keep that, but anyway, that's there are a few things which are open to interpretation.
Yeah, I put the same remark in red. I put it depends because it depends on countries. So we need to make sure that do we keep the red color and what is the right sentence to write. But today the topic was just to know if this is a good idea to show this information on the website. So the right sentence, they might change and we need to validate them internally. But today is just about do we show this?
And I think what is nice with the system on Trace now is that you basically don't have to worry about that, because if we make a change, it would automatically update. So.
Yeah, this is what I like with Trace. I won't have to send you emails with tables. It will be automatic.
Just another comment as well. I was talking to someone earlier, because I think we will implement the same thing on the RCC site, same kind of system. And it would actually be good to see if we can get a centralized, see if the RCC can link into here to do that, the centralized table. And then maybe other collections could also go into use that same system. So I'll have a think about whether that's possible technically, and then we could, if we just had one centralized table, if that gets updated there, it would get updated in the different things it's linked to. So we'll see about that.
Okay, thank you. Any last remark? Okay, so I can go ahead. So the second part was about I need to know your needs for improving traceability in your activities. So in EBB, as I said, there is a guidance for or recommendation for institutions and collections. I just want to know if you know those recommendations and if you have difficulties to implement them, if you're lacking anything. This is just few slides to introduce this. So you probably know the best practices, the EBB best practice guide. So this guide is divided in two parts. The first part is about legal background, and the second part is about technical guidelines to implement best practices. There is technical guidelines annexes, a lot of documents to show examples. So in the technical guidelines, there is guideline for each process in your activities. So the guideline for the acquisition of genetic resources, for depositing genetic resources in a collection, for the utilization, for supplying or transferring genetic resources. Also guidelines for data management about ABS. Not only. There are guidelines for disposal of genetic resources. There are also a few guidance for the retrospective compliance in ABS framework. And finally, there is something about the registration of collection at the European level. So I won't go into details of each guidelines. This is not the purpose. I just summarize guidelines and the recommendation specifically for collections to know if you if this is implemented in your collection. So in this guide for institution and collection, there's annexes like models that might be useful for you. So a model for material accession form. There is a model for sample material transfer agreement, a model for terms and conditions also for academic use, and a model of MTA. Model. So as I said, this is models and need to be validated. You want to use them by your operators. It's because it has competency to adapt them to your specific purpose. The second annex is example of benefit sharing conditions. So it might help you to define your what benefit you could share with the providing country, as it has ask this kind of information when you want to start a project. There are also annexes about the data management and also a poster, not just a poster called Don't Be a Biopirate that provides information on ABS. So this is what I summarized from recommendation for collections. So the main recommendation is that you need to supply marine organisms and the associated data only with the ABS necessary information, so the passports or the ABS status that we talked previously. You also need to use appropriate tracking tools for exchanging samples. So tracking tools might be a database, only records that you might use need documents to track the life of your bioresources. It might be MTA to track the transfer of resources. Also, there are third recommendations that you need to keep the ABS documentation and any record for 20 years. So are you able to keep those documents 20 years, for 20 years? Then you need to develop apply procedure for managing marine organisms. So in the recommendations, there are many recommendations on what to include in those procedures. So the question is, do you use procedure? Is it useful for you? How can you ensure that you work as you might describe it? Maybe it's also a topic for tomorrow if there is discussion about a quality system. Who has implemented this? Is it useful for you? How we could harmonize these kind of things. And the final recommendation is to use a unique identifier with your bioresources. So this is, to me, as basic recommendation. I do not know. I would say I know what is the level of implementation of those best practices in EMBRC collections, because I sent a checklist some months ago to ask people, do you do this or this? So I know that people who answered said there were an average of 90% of compliance with these recommendations, so it was a good thing. But I also know that people who answered were volunteers. They're probably in advance on this topic, and probably people who did not answer are not in advance on this topic. So now I would like to know the opinion of people that are in this room. In your collection, where are you regarding those recommendations? Is there something you cannot do? Is it a specific reason? How could we help you? Or to implement this? Do you need some help, some resources, anything? So this is a question. Before opening the discussion, I will just explain the same thing but with a different slide. So this is another view of recommendations. Basically, it's very easy. Recommendation for a collection: you need to obtain the necessary ABS information from the acquisition of your resources. You might have deposit form or anything to keep ABS information at the beginning when you enter resources in your collection. And then you will use a resource passport or any document to communicate those ABS information to users. And when you will transfer resources to users, you need to define terms and conditions between you and the users. And this is in order to make sure that you know who is the user, that ABS compliance is the user's liability. If you have no terms and conditions or MTA or any documents that define whose responsibility, it might be yours. So the question is, do you work like this? Is there some difficulties for you to do something? So what are your working methods? So that's the question. I don't think I have more. Okay, so how we could improve traceability? Do you think it's useful in your activities? And do you have other tools that are not on my slide, but that can do the same thing? Just let me know, because I do not know all of your working methods. I'm looking for mainly the difficulties and how we could help. So what's your need to implement those recommendations? Anyone? Yen?
I'll just
hello. Yes. So I'll just start off a discussion. So in our case, we follow more or less all of that, as you know. I have one question about when we're talking about traceability, is about when we provide a resource to a user, we ask them what they're going to do with it. And at the moment, we just have it's an open field, so they can put in whatever they want. And you get, I mean, my experience is you get some people who give you quite a detailed description saying we're going to do such and such an experiment or what other. A lot of them just say research. So it's not really very useful, in fact, the way we're doing it at the moment. And so the question is, should there be some standard categories, so we don't make it an open reply, we make it choice between certain categories? And to further the question is, I have the case in some projects at the moment, so where we're providing resources and there isn't really a tool for following what happens within a project, because we might provide it to somebody who's going to make an extraction and send it to someone else, and that extraction might, we don't really follow what goes on afterwards. So is there any comments or ideas about that?
So I can say we do not have categories, but we can imagine a way to harmonize this. For now, the important thing is you should know if it's for commercial purpose or fundamental purpose. This
Yeah,
is important.
I mean, so you just put two categories, but commercial purpose, it's difficult because what a lot of even companies would say is that when you order the resource, they're looking to do research and development on it, and maybe they will be a commercial outcome.
In this case, this is why you need terms and conditions, or for companies, maybe an MTA, to clarify what they can do with it. And you say, well, you cannot police users. You won't follow what they will do with it. But you can write in your MTA, this is for this purpose, so you're not allowed to transfer it for another purpose to someone else, or to sell the resource to someone else, or these kind of things. You can have a frame. And so if you wanted to say you cannot police the users, this is not the purpose. It's just to know, we need to know what is done with your resources in order to be more transparent.
Yeah, in fact, for me, it's a question of thinking about what would be the interesting data that we want to pull out of that. As I say, at the moment, with the people filling this thing, and I can't make any analysis of this data because the replies are so completely heterogeneous. I mean, for EMBRC, would they want to know just, what percentage is used for fundamental research or R&D, or so you need to think about what kind of data you want to be able to pull out of that, and then put in a system where people don't have a choice, can't write in whatever they want. They have to choose between a category.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Just is everyone agree to implement this kind of thing, because it's we can do it on a voluntary basis, or I won't say we cannot, but this is a discussion, but we can create a category to recommendation, but tomorrow I cannot say you have to collect this information. It's very important, because for now it is only our recommendation. There is no legal obligation or these kind of things to do so. But I agree, if we need more information, then this is for research. So the question was, what do you need to implement those best practices? Or maybe it's very easy, it is already done. Is anyone here think that it's perfect in its biobank or collection? It's possible. If it's not the case, what do you need to go further? Just time? It's your plan, and in 2 years it will be done, or do you need more resources? Do you need more competencies because you do not know what this is? For now, we can provide choice to support the ABS necessary information. But what about, do you have any procedures? Do you know how to implement them? Is that useful? Do you have a system to keep documentation for 20 years or these kind of things?
Okay, we have, we ask just only if it is commercial or if it is for research. So we don't want to do more about that. We, of course, ask not to transfer the strains to third party. Otherwise, if they do it, they have to communicate it. And at the last, we ask to inform us about publications that they do with our strains. No more than that. And about the documentation, we have the MTA and also the MDA for the deposits. We have to taken the forms from the ECHO recommendations, and we have the documents online in our database. So it will stay in a PDF format, also in paper too. If we do the signing before the electronic sign, so that's what we do right now. And it's they don't feel very comfortable when they when we ask about what they are going to do with these strains. This is our experience. So it's a little bit uncomfortable, but I don't know.
Since last years we work with MTA all the time. When we send a sample for someone, we ask for an MTA sign, and a lot of people have some constraints in say what kind of use they will do and why we need to sign an MTA. I think it's important here. So.
Okay, so there are difficulties to use MTAs because users are not ready to sign this kind of contract.
Yeah, and because sometimes the MTA don't give so much options. Sometimes people buy a sample and the MTA say, okay, if you extract a molecule and want to use it for something commercially, you cannot do it. You need to contact again the collection. Okay, this is a big problem for users sometimes.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, only to add to that, indeed, during the first phases of EBB, we tried to get some use cases for commercial stakeholders, and it has been very, very hard. Yvonne and our colleagues were working with that, but no one wanted to, and that's normal because industries won't tell you which species they are using and which molecular exactly for all these confidentiality issues. And so, yeah, I understand that it's not easy to ask the user to do that. I know that is necessary, but it's not that easy as we thought.
Okay, in terms of the ABS parts, we just want to track the resource from the sampling to the use, or it's meant just to track the person, to know who will use it. The purpose might be important, but is in your collections, the purpose is just to know, to make sure you can track resources at each step. Then if there are difficulties to know when you have not the resource in your collection, I would say it's not your problem because it is their responsibility. You just need to ensure that if you have restrictions, your own restrictions, they need to apply it. But the question was just, can you track your resources from sampling to the transfer? Okay, so I would say yes.
I guess for us it's quite easy because we are in the green zone. So for us it doesn't matter whether they're going to use it for academic or fundamental research or commercial research because there is no ABS authorization. So I guess that what we are discussing when it comes to authorization is those who's in the orange zone. So
it's
and also for Biobank, the background here is that we do only have samples from Norwegian jurisdiction.
Okay, because you always only hold resources from Norway?
Yes, okay. And in addition, of course, from areas beyond national jurisdiction and VBNJ, and we will see what comes up there. But for the Norwegian samples, it's quite clear.
Okay, so in this case, I would say that these best practices are not only about ABS, it's also a way to improve traceability and harmonize practices around EMBRC. So even if ABS does not apply to every resources, it's a good thing to track resources, to know what we do with it. And even if today there is no regulation in a way, maybe tomorrow we will have it. So it's good to have good practices.
It's the same that we do want feedback on publications and IPs and so on, for sure. Yeah, that's just to add value to the collection itself, and that's nothing to do with the responsibilities for the authorities for now at least. Yeah.
Okay. So anyone? Okay, so I can tell you, I have no slide for this, but I'll tell you the result. When I ask EMBRC collection, are you able to do this? What do you do in your activities? In my results, I saw that the recommendation about database management was well compliant. They do the right thing to manage data, but when it was more complicated to provide the ABS information to users, sometimes they collect the information, but they do not provide it to users. So I would say this is something to improve. And the other point was about contract, like MTA. Usually you do not use MTA or terms and conditions. Maybe another solution because there is less. Okay. So any document that can explain your terms and conditions when you transfer resources. It was two difficulties that I found in your activities. So when I say you, I do not know if it was people here. It was about it was the overview of all answers that I get. So do you think it's this correspond to your activities? Or okay, no. Okay.
I actually have a question. So how many of you actually point the users to the tools like the step-by-step guide and things like that? Do you actually have a link or something on your website to point users to this, or
not to this one?
to the million?
To the Ministry of Environmental Ministry. They have a recommendation and also steps in Spanish. Yeah.
It's not very
for the Spanish
not
ones.
very,
mainly we have a Spanish.
Not very useful for non-Spanish.
We select for the Spanish one. We directly to these ones. Mainly we have a Spanish people asking for those that are or they have problems with it. We have in the web page also we have a small summary. So and also Miri has an EBS guideline, so it's in English. So
I guess there's no harm to point to as many different things. So I think it might be good to point towards the EMBRC guidelines as well.
Okay, so we to both. So.
Anyone else?
At CIMAR, we don't ask the users. We have in the MTA the rules. If you are using for research purposes, or if you are using for commercial purpose, so
Yeah, but I mean for the actual information.
Yes, no, we don't have this. No.
Would that be something that you would be interested to do?
Yes, sure.
Because that's the thing. I think these guidelines have been kind of a lot of effort invested in putting them together, and they've been getting better and better over time. But I'm not sure everyone knows they exist, even within the EMBRC, and I'm not sure that many people are actually pointing, the users to these. So.
Yeah, that's why I try to simplify them in this slide. Do not know if you read them. I don't know if you know they exist, but what would be good, it would be good to turn those guidelines about ABS into guidelines for bioresource management in collection. What is the best way to manage bioresources? It would be maybe a more interesting topic for collections, and maybe it would be easier to.
But that exists as well. That's the one for providers. Because you have the guidelines for providers and for users.
No, I meant not about ABS. I meant guidelines like best practices to manage bioresources in a collection. But it's another topic. I think what I heard is that there's difficulty to provide the ABS information. But if now you use Trace and your catalog is in Trace, it will be easy to say when you provide resources, have a look to the catalog, because there is the ABS information attached to bioresources in the catalog. So you won't have to generate your own passports with the right information, and there is the step-by-step guide for user in the same place. So you would just have to say, have a look to the catalog with the unique identifier of resources that you will use. So I think we can move on the next part, because I do not know how much time we have. So it's about the European registration of collections in yeah. And
microphone, please. Sorry.
Ian made a question about how to trace strains inside the project. For example, do you have any ideas how to do this inside the project?
What's the question, sorry?
The question that I asked earlier, you said if within a project, I have some examples at the moment where we're providing the resources, so with the ABS information, etc. We're providing them to a first user, but then we don't follow what happens to, if extracts are made and sent to different partners and stuff. We don't follow, and I don't think the information follows for the subsequent uses. So, I mean, well, I've been looking to see if there was any kind of database resource or something which you could use to follow, but doesn't really seem that there's anything really appropriate for that. And so, within a project, I find that the information doesn't keep going with the, it goes to the first user, but then it stops there. It doesn't, if there's...
I do not know resources that do this, but this is, I would say, a topic for the future. This is what we are thinking in the Blue Webinomics project. So this is something
that's the example I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Is because we don't really have a way to make sure the information...
No, we can use MTAs, we can follow that can track the transfer of resources, but for now, there is no tools. This is something to build. I do not know tools that
that's
exist.
my comment. That's something to think about.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so a few other slides about registration collections in the European Registry of ABS compliance collections. This is mainly for the RCC and the BEA within the EBB projects that would like to be registered and be recognized as ABS compliance collections at the European level. So I will explain you what this is about and what are the steps to follow to be registered in this register. So I do not. Do you know how much time I have? Half an hour. Okay. So this is first slide just to show you that there is different kind of register at the European level. You can register your collection or you can register best practices, and here we just talk about collections. So this is based on a voluntary basis. You are collection, so you should know what is a collection, but I will just read the definition, the legal definition for ABS. So you can register your collection if you is a set of collected sample of genetic resources and related information that is accumulated and stored whether by public or private entities. So it's just collections. And when we talk about genetic resources, it is not about genetic. It is about it's any material of plants, animal, microbial or other origin containing functional unit of heredity, or including derivatives like the natural biochemical compound. So any bioresources, excluding human resources.
The virus is included?
Yes, I think so. I don't know, but I think so. Yes, they are. So what are the benefits of registering a collection? So the main benefits will be for users because it will reduce the administrative burden for seeking the ABS information. And a user accessing the genetic resource from a trusted collection is deemed to have exercised his due diligence with regard to the seeking of ABS documentation. So this is important for user. If you want to attract user, if your collection is registered, you may attract user because it means they won't have to look at the ABS information because you will provide them. So you will be also on the register, so you will be more visible for users. And then there's a list of advantages, more I won't say blah blah, but it's for against biopiracy and things like this. So yes, it is. So are there disadvantages to register your collection? There's some disadvantage because it will reduce the burden, the administrative task for user, but it may add this task to your collections. And also the register collection are controlled by the competent national authorities. They will check that you have a process to ensure you provide the right information to users. But you can register your collection wholly or partially. So it might help you if you want to register just a part of your collection. Okay. So right now there is only 3 collections that are registered, let's say, in Europe. I will skip this part. So what are the steps to be registered? If you want to be registered, you will need to adapt best practices to have the right process to ensure ABS compliance. And you will need to conduct an inventory of genetic resources within your collection to ensure that all resources that you provide are compliant, or there is a way for the user to be compliant with ABS. So he needs to know where resources come from and what is the legislation in this country. I write BA beside this sentence because this inventory was conducted in ABB on every collections, but BA joined EMBRC last year, so this inventory was not conducted on your collection. So just let me know if you want that I have a look to your bioresources and let you know in which country you might need information, you might need in which country there is restrictions. So that was my speech 1 week ago, but now if you add your resources in Trace, you will have this information automatically. So it will depend on timing for launching registration. And what else is, the last paragraph is important because in the regulations, they said that where an applicant is a member of a network of collections, like EMBRC, when applying for inclusion of a collection or a part of your collection in the register, the applicant may inform the competent authority about any other collection or parts from the same network that were are the subject to apply for being included in the register. So this means just that if the RCC and the BA wants to be registered at the same time, they should be coordinated to tell to the national authority that there is another collection in the networks that want to be. Yeah, your question.
So what difference does that make?
It makes that it might help you that in the different countries they might exchange, and it might help you to know that there already trusted collection in your network, so you might apply the similar practices. And I have no details about this, but it's in the legislation, and I think it might help. And that's it. So what are the requirements for being registered? So in the regulations there is a list of requirements, so you need to apply standardized procedures to show that you might ensure ABS compliance. You should supply genetic resources with the documentation, the ABS documentations, with evidence that with the compliance with ABS legislation. And you should use tracking tools. So you need to use a unique identifier to keep resources, to keep record of genetic resources that you supply to third parties. Need to monitor when and how specimens are permanently leave your collection. And you need to use appropriate tracking and monitoring tools for exchanging genetic resources. So this is basically our best practices. So if you follow our best practices, it should be easy to be registered. So the information to be provided with a request for inclusion in the register. So if you want to be registered, we need to provide those information. So this is according to the European regulation and might change in national process, but the European regulation says that you should provide the information on your collection and contact detail information, whether you want to register your entire collection or just a part of your collections, some details about your collection, and a brief description. And also shows the category of your collections. There's a list of category of what kind of collection is it. So if we talk about the evidence that you can provide to show your capacity to comply with ABS, you can provide a code. You can implement a code of conduct and show that you have guidelines like the EBB guidelines. You should show that you're able to keep records, any evidence of the application of ABS compliance. If you have a certification like the ISO 901, it's also something it's good for you to it's good for you. Information about the participation of collection in an international collection network, like I said previously, like EMBRC is maybe in favor of your registration, and other any relevant documentation. So in EMBRC we can provide a standard text explaining the context of EMBRC, what this is, what tools or best practices we have, and we can make this kind of text to facilitate the application. And why do we provide this evidence that you are able to ensure ABS compliance? The national authority might also assess your system to make sure you might be trusted. So they might do some on-spot checks. They might check your documentation, your records. They might select samples to make sure they have the right documentation. They might examine your collections, your capacity to supply genetic resources accordingly to the regulation. And then also might interview relevant persons like the collection holder, your staff, external verifier, or even your users. So this is in the European regulation, but it will depend on your national process, the national evaluation. I don't know how far they can go. So this slide just to let you know that, as I said, the application to the register is specific in each country, so you will need to know the your national procedure. So you need to contact your competent national authority to know this process. And then when they will have checked your collection, they will inform the European Commission, and the collection will be registered in the European Commission register. So this is, I think, my last slide. It's just to open discussion to understand in the RCC and BA or other collections you want to be registered. You think you can be registered. Where are you in this process? Do you know Have you always been in touch with your competent national authority? Do you know the procedure in your national procedure to be registered? Do you know any idea about the assessment of your collection to be registered? Have you already prepared documentation for the application? So it's a discussion anything about this, and do you have in mind a deadline to start or to launch this registration? As it is, we are in the EBB project, I would suggest to do it before the end of EBB, but I will leave you the floor to let me know what you have in mind.
So for me, no, yes.
Ready?
So I basically haven't done anything yet. I don't know what the procedure is, and
you do not know what the procedure is?
Well, yeah, but more or less. But I haven't specifically been into touch.
Are you in the committee in France that assess collections?
Yes, I am. Yes.
You do not know the... Okay.
No, I do know it.
Okay, so I will figure out.
But I haven't specifically been in touch about that as yet. Just one question, actually. So you say that it remove, or I don't remember what the term was, but it removes the need to do due diligence, but it doesn't change the fact that the user is still responsible for making an authorization if one is needed.
Right. It will remove the collection. We exercise a due diligence, so we
that's basically
seek information.
Our ABS, providing all the information on origin, etc., and our ABS status evaluation.
Yeah. So the collection will provide the ABS information, but the due diligence is not the ABS compliance, and the user still has to exercise.
So it doesn't change the fact that the user still needs to, or if it's from a country,
it is my understanding
they still have to do their application themselves.
Yeah, in my understanding, yes. So what about BEA? Have you been in contact with your competent national authority? Do you have any?
Yes, we have been in contact with the national authority, which is the Ministry of Environment. They have they told us to contact with the local government, because all the what to say the issues are transferred to the communities, to the regions, and they are not very much in favor of helping us with us. It seems that they lose some kind of competences. But we are trying anyway. We will present it. We do not have any deadline now, because we are now trying to comply with the ISO 9001, which is taking a lot of time. And of course, we think we have to have some personnel to deal with this. So we have to think about how we're going to do that. But yes, they are not much in favor on these situations.
Not in favor, or they just don't want to have hassle?
I think they don't want to. But anyway.
Why?
I don't know. I think these biodiversity people, technical people here in the local government is more conservative. They don't want to give more license or whatever out of their competence. So we have having problems also for biotechnology in this sense with them. So I guess it's more like do a work of information work more with them to try to inform what we do and keep on going. But it's hard work, let's say.
If you have a certification, it should be in your favor.
Yeah, for us it's in our favor, and I think for them too. But it's...
Do you have to apply, is there a specific application for Canary Islands, or is it a Spanish application?
It should be first in the Canarian.
Okay, so
in the Canaries.
One. Okay.
And if the Canaries says okay, then the national authority wouldn't say okay.
Okay, you can start directly with a Spanish
because
application.
The collection is not the national collection.
Okay.
It's a collection that is at the university, and the university it's of the region of the Canaries. So this is the more or less the political distribution.
Okay, I thought it would be easier.
Well, we will go on with this, so we have not lose the opportunity, but I think they...
Yeah, well, we need to know if there is any procedure to follow, and just to send the documentation.
Okay, that would be nice.
In our case, we contact our national authority in 2021, more or less, about these things, and they answer something like, okay, we know that exists, we know that we are the authority, but we don't know how to do this. Something like this. So
okay.
Until now we are in this.
Okay, I see. It's much more complicated than I thought. There are also a list. It's not a solution because we should not steal your application. But we also might apply as EMBRC as a single collection for everyone. It's a possibility, since in the case of EBB, the France recognize EMBRC as a single collection. We could imagine we launch the application for EMBRC, and that might include you, but it should not, we should validate this, and it should not disturb or not it doesn't mean that you should not apply yourself, because it's very important that your collection are on the register. So we should do our best to find the right process to include them.
When you apply as the EMBRC, who do you apply
to?
I would say in France, because France recognizes EMBRC as a single collection, so we could register EMBRC in France. We could. We think that we could.
I'm on the committee which assesses the...
But it means that
so
best practices are applied.
Yeah. I think that would make sense to try and do it everyone, because basically from what I understand, if you follow the best practices, if you have a database, you've pretty much got everything you need, really. So, I mean, everyone could do it, really, if they were interested. Afterwards, I'm not sure really what added value it will really give, but because, as I say, it doesn't, I think if it made it so that users didn't have to do anything afterwards, then there would be a real interest. But it doesn't change the fact that users, if it's from a country where there is an application to be made, they still have to do it. So it's basically what we're doing already, but you have a label for it. So I'm not really sure what added value it will.
But this is also why we should do it, because
yeah, I agree. Because we
already
do it already,
so why not? So if we have a look to this slide, we just have to show that EMBRC use standard procedures like best practices. We have the right documentation so we provide evidence of compliance with ABS. If we use trace, we can show that we use unique identifier. We can keep, no, trace will not help with keeping documentation for 20 years, but if we show we can provide the right information to users. And so this slide summarizes what we would like to do. It's basically our best practices. So to me, it's doable. But this meeting was about your corrections. So we should, I do not know much and we have, but we will start this process, gather the right documentation, and write as more questions to competent national authority in order to know what should be the next step and if this is doable.
Yeah, in terms of deadline, I could do that very quickly. I mean, I've been waiting for a few years to have the green light to do it. So I could do it.
Now we have the green light, and we should use the opportunity EBB to do it as soon as possible.
So mid-July.
Mid-July, yeah, or to launch it, just to launch it.
Okay.
Okay. So thank you. If you have any question, just let me know. And otherwise, I do not know what is the next point.
Coffee.
Coffee, nice.
Sorry, we have a machine here. I'm so sorry. Tomorrow we will fix. I'm sorry. But anyway, the stakeholder session was
Gracias.
I believe 15 minutes of break. No, it's okay. There is a coffee machine. Yes, a coffee machine here, and you also
Encendido? Okay. Okay, so we will start. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer for inviting us to participate in this meeting, and also to Ian to give me the opportunity to present the EMBRC and the EBB project. The EMBRC is the European Marine Biological Resource Center, and it's an European research infrastructure, and it's composed by 10 countries, 70 sites for research and experimentation, and the mission is support and facilitate marine biological research and innovation, solve bottlenecks, technological development, promote and represent marine biological research community. We are thinking in all the ecosystem over the world, and we try to enable research close to source of marine resources. Also to develop tools and techniques for the marine research. The EMBRC activities, we have divided in some points. Services, we provide access to marine biological organisms and their habitat. We make specialist facilities available for research and companies, and also support cutting-edge research by bringing our technical and scientific expertise to bear. Also, we try to build new platforms, solving bottlenecks, and we also try to represent the scientific community towards European Commission and other research communities. Regarding the ecosystem and biological resources, we provide access to marine ecosystem, including kelp forests, coral reefs, intertidal rocky shores, lagoons, mudflats, and deep sea environments, such as coastal research vessels, sampling facilities, satellite diving, and submersibles. Also, about biological resources, EMBRC provides access to marine biological resources on site or by shipping to our institutions, such as biobanks, culture collections, marine model organisms, reading of aquaculture animals, organisms collected in the wild, and taxonomic services. Another part are the experimental facilities and technology platforms, and we can provide aquarium tanks, mesocos, climate control rooms, wet laboratories, and dry laboratories, and also technological platforms in support of on-site research projects with bioassays, imaging, molecular biology, genomics, remote sensing and telemetry, and structural and chemical analysis. And finally, there are other support services such as e-services, training and library services, and accommodation and catering. This is an overview of what we do we can provide in the EMBRC. As an example of one of the activities that we made in the EMBRC, for example, we have EMOBON, which is an European contribution to international networks. And what we do is to sample in water column to obtain baseline genomic biodiversity data and obtain data of those variables and also microbiome research. In detail, we obtain samples from these 3 ecosystems, water column, substrates and hard substrates, with different frequencies, and process the sample. And part of the samples goes to the biobanking, and other part goes for DNA analysis. The objectives in this action is the first objective is to build a coastal to open ocean multiomics biodiversity observing system over the ocean decade. The second objective is develop and transfer capacity to initiate additional observation activities. The objective 3 is to enhance marine ecosystem models, and the objective 4 to address pressing scientific management and policy questions. Another example of the activity that the EMBRC made is the bioprospecting. And we support the discovery of novel compounds and bioactive substances from marine biodiversity. We build on expertise in culturing and working with diverse organisms, screen environmental consortia and isolation of organisms. Also, we make chemical characterization of compounds and assemble full pipeline for bioprospecting in EMBRC to provide a one-stop shop for bioprospecting support. Among the prospecting, algae is one of the main objectives, and for this, EMBRC offer access to marine environments. We also offer on-site or remote access to biological resources, on-site access to experimental facilities, and training. And among algae, the algal and microalgae culture collection are one of the stars in our research infrastructure. Here you have some examples of some of the collections. And in these collections, we offer different services such as leaf-started cultures, culture media, isolation, identification of species, images, some biochemical characterizations such as pigment analysis, strain deposit, and genetic analysis. And the third action, or the second example of the thing that we do in the EMBRC is this project, the EBB project, the European Biobank project. And here you can see the partners of this project. We have biobanks and cultural collections. We have clusters, competent national authorities, and some companies. The EBB project has created 2 management tools. We have a common access system to marine biological resources collection, the trace database. We have been talking about it during this morning, and also the TrackWeb interface, which is a tool that is designed to manage and provide access to data pertaining to sampling and maintenance of biological resources. In terms of common procedures for biobanking operations, it was organized a virtual workshop on quality management systems, discuss on the need of and advantage of quality management system, and to define the minimum set of quality management requirements and a plan for implementation. Other action in this project was the calibration of common cryopreservation methodologies we made last year with 2 strains, Isochrysis galvana and Phaeodactylon tricornutum, and was carried out by 7 laboratories. And finally, we also made actions related to the ABS, we have been talking right now, and actions such as audit of collection on the ABS status of resources. We make ABS complaints for collection and fundamental research using EMBRC, also practical guides, and some events along the last 3 years. And what's the future with the EMBRC? What we want is to evolve EMBRC services from simple platforms and equipment to advanced expertise-based services. We want to link services to be complementary and emphasize on strengthening collaborations among nodes and operators, pooling capabilities and strengths. And more or less, this is an overview of what we do in the EMBRC and in this EBB project. So I have finished. Now we are going to have the presentation of the stakeholders, and Juan Luis is going to call you.
¿En este ordenador lo cambiaron?
No sé, cambia el mismo. Vale. ¿Lo dejo?
Sí.
No, digo, ya no vas a hacer.
Yo no. I have finished.
Okay, I will start to introduce. Well, this is a very interesting session, the stakeholders. Usually when you request and you ask the people if they want to join us in a seminar like this, usually we don't have too many answers. But for this workshop, you know, in the last year, we have been working very hard on the contacts with companies and development of activities in the Canary Islands. And we have a lot of requests. People was asking us from mainland Spain, for example. But well, finally we have got different examples of companies and scientific centers, well, you will see now, that they want to show us what they are doing nowadays. Most of them are related to algae work. And the first of all, I will introduce Begoña, who is coming from All Green. All Green is a company who is placed in the Netherlands. And Begoña was one of our students at the master course in marine culture, marine aquaculture, and she joined All Green for a stage. Well, she has been working there for 4 months, and nowadays is coming back to Gran Canaria and join the ITC and BIA for going ahead with the collaboration with All Green. So I will leave you the floor, and she will present All Green activities. Okay. You have, ¿tienes la presentación o ya la? Ah, ¿no la tienes en un pendrive? Ok. Bueno, cámbiala en un pendrive mejor para no estar cambiando esto otra vez. So maybe we can start then with Sandra. Sandra from the Archimea Research Center. Well, she is also, well, Archimea Research Center is a private research center which is operating here in Spain, but nowadays they have a base in Tenerife, and well, they are doing well many interesting projects. And well, Sandra and Archimea, we are doing some comparison, and we are trying to show them how they have to work with this ABS politics and the Nagoya Protocol. And I think she has learned a lot. So all what we have been discussing today, she already knows. So it's very good. ¿Tenías ya la presentación aquí? Perfecto. Okay. ¿Cuál es la presentación de ella? Ah, vale.
Okay, I'm not going to talk about Nagoya protocols and everything. I'm going to present the company. But okay, as Juan Luis says, we are a private company. We are in Spain mostly, but nowadays we are a global company. We are a technology company, and our sectors of activity are aerospace, defense, big science, biotechnology, and fintech. Was founded in 2005, but Diego Fernandez is our current president, and the point that we have more in common in Archimea is all our people sharing this strong passion for technology. Okay. This year, in 2022, Archimea's turnover was 160 million, and the team are formed mostly by engineers and technical experts. One of the main objectives of the company is to change the world through this technology and through science. In fact, we are in the top 5 Spanish companies with highest growth, as reported by Financial Times. We always say that we carry R&D in our DNA. We invest the most of our profits in this R&D, as well as in the acquisition of other companies. We are one of the main objectives of the company is to change the world through our technology and through our knowledge. So in 2019, we founded Archimea Research Center. We are in Tenerife, in the other island, in San Cristobal de la Laguna. And the center were formed by senior and junior researchers, and we have more than 20 R&D projects, and we have contracts and collaboration with more of 15 universities and research centers, as the Universidad of Las Palmas de Gran Canaria. That's why we are here today. In numbers, we have 21 R&D projects. We collaborate with 35 universities and research centers. We were achieved 6 investor disclosure forms and 3 partners in 2022. And we have achieved 110 total tech outcomes. This in 2022, we have obtained 30 million in public funds secure. We were granted with 2 of the 8 European Union R&D projects that we submitted, and we are granted with 4 of the 10 national R&D projects that we were submitted. We were focused mostly in the future's biggest talents and the future's biggest markets, as you said you can see here. We have 21 projects in 2022, and we are a multi. We have a lot of science in here. We could, you could see sensors, robotics, biotech. So we mix each other. We love the synergies that we have because we are a lot of people with a lot of knowledge. We are a different background scientifics. So this year, in 2022, we decided to form 4 orbitals. We have the first orbital, the artificial intelligence one. You can see this one of the projects called Accelerated Drug Discovery because we mix biotech and A&D to form this project. We have the orbital focused in advanced robotics and mechanics, the quantum orbital, and as we call pre-orbital of biotech, in which we have this project that we call green antimicrobial, in which one we collaborate with a Spanish bank, Microalgae. In this project, we want to focus to improve the knowledge of the antimicrobials to improve the cosmetics and health industries. As you know, nowadays we have a lot of challenge in the and in this microbiological resistance, in antibacteria and everything. So we want to study more about these microalgae extracts, mostly in Canary Islands, because we are in Canary Islands. So thank you so much for inviting us, and thank you so much for listening to me. Yeah.
It's huge, the amount of projects you have and in a very short period of time, so the work is very hard. But tell me, what about, I know that you are starting a research launch on the marine environment. How many projects you have? I know Jorge is already, was already involved in one of them. You are in another one, but how many are related to marine biotechnology?
Okay, we have one project related with artificial arrecifes. I don't know how to call this in English. Reefs. Thank you. And we have some related with marine bacteria in extreme conditions, like the new beaches that were created in the volcano in La Palma, and we have this one with microalgae. So we have a lot of projects related with marine technologies.
And all of them are focused in Tenerife? Or
all of them are
focused in Tenerife. You have relationships with people in Spain or in Europe?
We have relations with people in Archimea Healthcare in Madrid, but all the projects are developed in Tenerife. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Next, again, Begoña, you have it. Okay.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Begoña. I am doing a internship in Algreen and a collaboration with BEA and ITC. And well, Algreen is a company. Well, it's a startup founded in 2015, based in the campus of University of Wageningen, and using the facilities in the university. So well, they are mostly supporting the technical and regulatory provider for the microalgae sector mostly is in the Netherlands, Belgium, Italy, and Switzerland. And also they are providing internal and research development on a novel microalgae species and extracts for different applications. Well, that I can tell you in the next slides. Well, the mission for the startup is everyday algae. They are strongly believe in the potential of algae to become a large-scale community in the Netherlands and replacing many traditional products. So, well, they have a strong facilities at the university, and they are using them and also using the support of the researchers at the university. Also, they are working with collaborators and mostly people from the University of Wageningen, master biotech people, also Erasmus people as me, and internship people. Okay, so well, the company they have a track record about commercial cultivation and downstream. They have 8 microalgae production plants designed and built in the Netherlands, and they have cultivation tests performed with different strains. A lot. I didn't remember all the collection that they have. But well, I am working with a strain from here, from a native microalgae in the BEA. And well, they are also have a downstream advice till final products. They are supporting commercial. Well, they are supporting also commercial companies and advising these companies. They have innovative solution implemented, on-site training in the plant, facilities operation. So we are training the products that they have. For example, a person has a problem with algae and they come with, okay, I have a contamination or a problem with my algae, help me. And the company is helping as a consultancy. And they have experience in multiple European countries. Mostly they are working as a organic certification advice, working with 10 companies I think that is mostly in Italy and in the Netherlands. And they have a food complement regulation advice in 4 companies. They have also member in CEN/TC 454 algae in algae products. And okay, the third-party testing and contract research. Well, they are working with. They are working in the university, so they are using the facilities and working with people that they are doing research and develop. So they are using the photobioreactor testing before to advise the company. So, well, they are experienced with major geometries, productivity validation, comparative performance validation, troubleshooting, that as I said before, and pre-commercial testing. Also culture stress test condition and a high value molecules accumulation analysis. They have a lot of contract research with the people of master and PhD internship. They are using strain optimization with the proprietary collection and media optimization that I'm doing myself in the Netherlands with the stream here, and a protocol validation. And well, the feasibility studies and process benchmarking, well, they are also working with a process benchmarking with the design, in-house process benchmark in validation and equipment testing. The feasibility study in the scientific literature and commercial information reporting is helping to the companies to spend less money. And well, they are gathering data and local parameter analysis as the natural seawater and the artificial seawater that they prepare. The productivity calculation with local validation with in-house test, techno-economic analysis, and technical due diligence and microalgae cultivation. Okay, the core team are Stefano Ganciani, that is the founder and the CEO, and Narcís Ferrer, that is a PhD, is a postdoc student now. And well, they are the boss and the supervisor. And well, I wanted to put a picture of the people that are working in the lab, but I don't have now because that is from the boss. So, but mostly there are now 4 girls working in the labs, supporting this advising for the other companies and the organic laws that they need. And well, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I had a question about photobioreactors, even if it's not your specific topic, but maybe you have the answer anyway. Do you know if they do co-cultures inside photobioreactors? I mean by that, do they use strain 1 to produce metabolite A that is going to be used by the strain 2, something like that?
Yeah, they have to the microphone. Sorry. They have a lot of photobioreactors. So also they have now new photobioreactors like tubulars, super big tubulars photobioreactors, and also raceway, but I didn't saw because it was in winter. So they are running that raceway in summer when the weather is good. And yeah, but inside they have a small photobioreactor that they create. The university and this researcher there, it's a microalgist. It's like something like that, and they are producing super quickly the cultures, not in flask, but in that algae mix.
I get that. But do you know if they do 2 strains in only one photobioreactors?
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe yes, but I don't know.
Well, you should ask them to do that.
Yeah.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. I have a question, and I think it's a bit of a general question for the companies. In fact, it's because I think you understand that here we are representing a research infrastructure, which is one of the missions of a research infrastructure is to work with and try to help companies. So I see that you talked about a proprietary collection, but then you said you were working with a strain from the BEA.
Yeah.
So I mean, the basic question is, how can that interaction between a research infrastructure and a company work, and what kind of things can we do to be the most useful and things like that?
Well, it was difficult because I was waiting for a month to work with the strain from here because it's a native microalgae. So to transfer to the Netherlands with the law in the Netherlands and in the law here in Gran Canaria, because it's different, I think here in Gran Canaria, I think that is more restricted, the law. But this bureaucracy, so it's a little bit complicated, but they have a contract, so yeah, I mean, they are collaborators, so I think that they can transfer the knowledge.
I think the companies in Wageningen,
Yeah.
they are not very close to the sea.
No. They are buying water, so I was preparing the artificial seawater. And also, well, I cannot I cannot talk about that. Sorry, but it's complicated.
For example, I think in our collections we have quite a big selection of biodiversity of microalgae and a lot of new things, but I don't see that it's very easy to transfer that potential that we have in those collections to companies.
Yeah.
The idea was starting from a a conversation between Al Green and the people at the ITC in a meeting. So they wanted to try a model for growing a species that we have been already working with. So it was a short experiment. It was nothing very big or nothing industrial at the moment, and that's it.
Yeah.
So even Begoña is coming back to here to go ahead with the research he made there in Algeria.
Yeah, mostly in the Netherlands I was doing better the receipt, optimizing the receipt there in the facilities of the university, and then here I'm using the raceways to working with that.
I think anyway the question by Ian is do you think that the people in All Green are they aware of this ABS politics and the Nagoya Protocol, so they are doing the
I
thing?
don't think so. Well, there are a person in the company that it's in charge of this law and bureaucracy things, because they are facilitating the organics law and all of this stuff to other companies as a consultancy. So I think that they know, but maybe not. I'm not sure. It's for that I'm here because I was watching the agenda and I was thinking maybe it's useful for them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That you have to send them the ideas and the information and
of course. Yeah. Okay, thank you. I don't know.
Okay, then we will go ahead. Monica, your time. Okay, Monica, well, she's an expert on all these kind of networking activities and projects and European projects. And she works in the what we call the maritime cluster of the Canary Islands, which is very interesting because, well, she will tell us there are many companies in the Canary Islands related to marine activities that they are already cooperating into the cluster. So the cluster is trying to get funds and to get the networking activities and projects, all these kind of things. The important thing with Monica is that she worked also with us at BIA, and well, she is her expertise is very nice and very important for us. So she will show what they are doing in the cluster.
¿verdad? Estupendo.
Hi everyone, it's nice to be here with you. I'm not very prepared to be to do a presentation. It was a surprise for my colleague Nacho. But where? I'm Monica from the Canary Islands Maritime Cluster. I'm very close to the BIA Center because I worked with the in a couple of years, and our cluster is related to marine and maritime environment, and we are a business association and a non-profit business association, and we promote with our actions the development and international competitiveness of the marine sector in our region. We are recognized by the Minister of Industry, Trade and Tourism as Innovative Business Association. It's a brand that we have obtained last year, and we are with this brand, we can do selected to be funds for our companies and to establish and do different activities related to the innovation. And in our cluster, we are more than 100 companies, and also we are in our network, the University of Las Palmas and the other entities like the SPEC, mainly public bodies, auxiliary services companies. Our main companies are related to the port industry and mainly to the ship repair industry. That is very important in our port in Canary Islands, but mainly in the Las Palmas port. And also we have we involve the business association, logistic companies, and other companies related to environment engineering or consulting. We involve all the chain related to the blue economy in Canary Islands because our islands is represent in our economy all the subsectors of the blue economy. That is very important because that is a difference between other regions in Spain. One of our members, the Technological Center of Marine Science, made every year the dimension of the blue economy in the Canary Islands. All of you know that we are a tourism region, but the blue economy is the 6% of our incomes, not the gross value, the BIP. I don't know the name in English, sorry. And for us it's important because we want to improve this quantity in our region. Also, we have a portfolio that explain or include all our supply chain related mostly in the portuary sector. We have some projects at different level. We're most specialized in regional projects related to Interreg MAC program, but also last years we were involved in other kind of projects financing directly by the European Union. Is the explanation of our projects mostly related to the port industry and the nautical tourism. We have this project related also to the marine energies, the offshore energy that is very important for us now. because in our strategic program for the cluster maritime of the Canary Islands, we want to improve our industry here in Canary Islands in this sector, in marine renewable energies and green hydrogen, offshore aquaculture, maritime and coastal tourism, oil and gas services for Africa, because near of us in Mauritania and Senegal, there are new oil and gas industries, and of course the blue biotechnology. For us, our interest is mainly related to the European algae sector, because we can improve this quantity of culture in this industry in Europe, and is for that we are involving in the EU algae initiative. We are mostly related to the Spanish Bank of Algae because of that, and because they are the most important scientific infrastructure in this respect, and they are a great potential to lead together with the Canary Islands Technological Institute to develop this biotechnology sector in our islands, and that respond to the EU communication to prioritize people and ensure sustainability and inclusive growth and unlock the potential of the othermost region. And it's Europe that are selected this sector to be evolved in Canary Islands, and we work with the different sector here to improve this approach. Thank you very much. It's all for me, and thank you.
How do you think we can make algae more commercial? How is the demand? Is it growing?
I think we need to collaborate with the research sector, because this kind of industry is very, very related to the research centers, and without it will be impossible to have an industry in Canary Islands. But our colleague Juan Ramon, that will be here after me, he can improve all of this question regarding the industry of Canary Islands. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I ask because there is a growing industry of these food supplements, and people take a lot of things to lose weight and or to get stronger, so they use things that we don't know what they are.
Yeah.
And algae are very nice, so why people don't buy algae and buy, I don't know if I can say here, Herbalife?
I think the algae is indeed that this nutraceutical industry, but is that the EU algae initiative. They want to industrialize this sector here in Europe, because now the problem is that we need to take this biomass to other countries that we don't know what is the culture methodologies, and this is the most important aspect for the European Commission to have to be here and European Union to do this industry here.
Monica, I wonder that the list of companies is incredible, and many of them are not related with biological resources, but some of them they are. And some of them are coming from the scientific part also. I mean, for example, we all know Littoral and Eco and the people related with aquaculture. But I wonder if they are aware of all these regulations that we are discussing here today about the ABS politics and the Nagoya Protocol. Do they ask for it? Do they know what is how they access to the biological resources?
I think they are not aware about this kind of legislation or regulation. But I think it's little by little. We need to improve that industry here, and with that, we will introduce this kind of legislation, I think.
Yeah, thank you, Monica, for the presentation. So we are almost colleagues, because we are the equivalent, but in Brittany, so the maritime cluster. And at the beginning of EBB, we did 2 workshops with users, and then we asked them if they were aware about the ABS and if they were concerned or not. And I don't recall the exact number, but it was very high that they didn't know that this exists and they were concerned about it. And also because at that time, because it was 2018 maybe that we did that, even in France was a little bit messy and each country was doing different things. So now I think that we are trying to harmonize, at least in Europe, some of the things, even if today we saw that we have a lot of things to take into account, the country where you sample your resources and how you use it and all of that. So it's a very complex subject. So for industrials, it's a little bit complicated to get in those, because they need to, I mean, their time scales are quicker, in the sense that they need to prove the concept and immediately to continue and then sell, because the investment that they are doing in the research and development is very important. So it's not a simple aspect for them, but EBB was one of the tools that we try to use to raise awareness amongst the industrials and to let them know that they are concerned about this, and yeah, that we need to try to work together and go forward to respect Nagoya Protocol, but also to develop our economies in the different regions.
We are here for that, because we want to mix that. Thank you.
Now I was thinking a little bit. I'm professor in a department of biology. We are more than 30 professors there, and I wonder how many of them are aware of the Nagoya Protocol. You know, I teach to my students about it, but you, what? Yeah. Yeah, but we have been doing training.
Try to teach, to try to give this information to collections around the area, to Spanish collections, to the academy, and also to the companies. And we have a lot of people in these webinars. So I think we need to continue doing that. And I was talking to Anau before, and I remember when we established the MTA in 2010, and there were some companies, they didn't want to work with us because of the MTA. Now nobody is complaining. So it's the way is to continue doing our training, our work, and doing the dissemination of the results, and continue doing this work that we are doing in ABB. So I think it's just
a question
time.
of dissemination, and it's a question of time.
So congratulations for this project. So I think we will go one step forward.
Anyway, we have
during the last years, we have got many questions about it in our webpage and the people who write us about it. So it's a question of time, I will say. Okay, next, Monse. Okay, let's go ahead. Okay, Monse, she's coming from the ITC, which is the Canadian Technological Institute, which is a very important public company from the Canadian government. Okay. Well, she is doing there her PhD. She was a student of mine some years ago. So the ITC, they have a very important department of biotechnology, mostly related to algal biotechnology. So, and they are a very important institution here in the Canary Islands, where we collaborate all together, and we make a lot of projects together. But the idea is that we are a scientific institution, public institution. They are a company, so they have to go ahead with activities that are related to the development of the sector in relationships with companies, right? So perfect.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. Okay. Our motivation are the higher biodiversity, the existence of native microalgae, the ideal environmental conditions, the development of cultivation and processing technologies, the high potential for industrial applications, and the economic diversification. Actually, in the area of Pozo Izquierdo, a technological industrial pole in blue biotechnology and aquaculture is being consolidated with compatibility of land and the supply of different types of waters and wastewater treatment infrastructure. A high technology incubator is included in the area with the dedicated land for testing of pilot projects with shared lab laboratories and co-working facilities. The Canary Technological Institute facilities are equipped with biotech laboratories and an experimental plant for the production and processing of biomass. In our facilities, we have highly equipped laboratories, and we have more than 20 years of experience in the field of biotechnology. And actually, in our company, we are more than 25 persons working in the department. In the biotechnology department, we developed two lines of work. On the one hand, the experimental development of process at pilot scale in an operational environment. And under different projects, we have developed food products such as biomass or pigments, as you can see in the photo. And for the other hand, the department offers scientific and technological support for companies involved in the blue biotechnology sector, especially in vegetal marine aquaculture. This line is currently being expanded with the implementation of the high-tech incubator. And we have carried out several projects to provide the facilities with high-tech equipment and at industrial scale. All of these are with the aim of creating an industrial technological development area of blue biotechnology.
And this area was created under the Bioassist project in Pozo Izquierdo, where the biotechnology department is located. This area is differentiated into 3 temporal phases. The first phase, which is already being carried out, is the implementation of new facilities for the incubate companies. And the second and third phase have the future objective of creating new production areas to carry out different biotechnological applications. And these are the projects that we are currently carrying out. And thank you for your attention. Any question? Yes.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. Just I suppose that it's already clear for everyone, but I don't know if you talk about if you have any like departments of transfer of technology in the institution, or if you have some like incubator or acceleration programs for the, I don't know, the outcomes of the research projects that could be later a product or a service.
Yes, we have a legal department, and can you repeat the second question?
Yeah, if you have a incubator or a spin-off or acceleration programs for the projects.
We have now companies incubate in the area. Yes, we have actually 2 companies.
Okay. And the technology transfer department that works
is already ongoing. Yes, we transfer technology for companies that are in other place of Spain, for example, or in other countries.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the question that we have doing to everyone, but as you are in a research institute, so you also handle all the ABS procedures when you are doing this transfer of technologies. This is something that you have already in place, some process.
I don't know what is EBAs.
Okay. the protocol, the authorizations that we were talking at the beginning of the day.
I don't know about that.
Okay.
I am researcher.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, this is the question that I was going to do it. We are expecting to have different companies in the near future just working in this area.
Yes.
And you are going to give them support, just not only for technological stuff. You are going to share information and make transfer to them. So have you been discussing how you are going to help them with the ABS politics? What species are they going to work with? What are the permissions they have to ask?
Now we are working of this to regulate the yes.
It's important for you because you will have companies coming to the incubator to work with, so they have to be aware of these kind of things. You are going to share with them strains, and probably they will ask to us for strains of microalgae to work with. So we are all we need to be aware of how to make the transfer together with the access to these genetic resources.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, and last one but not least is we will receive to Juanra, who is coming from the SPEC, with this the Society for the Economical Promotion of Gran Canaria. We belong to the local Gran Canaria government. Well, we have here many local governments, but yeah, together we work in a platform together with the ITC, the Cabildo de Gran Canaria, and the University of Las Palmas, just to go ahead with the development of the sector of blue biotechnology, right? So it will explain the activities and the...
Solo diapositiva.
Sí.
Un segundo.
So the last and the brief. So consider this not a presentation, consider just to prepare questions and get ready for the debate, because there were some questions that I want to address and also new questions that could be open. So please, we are here to discuss about how research institutions may facilitate companies to work with marine resources, and that's the reason why we create Bioasset platform together. So thank you for all, especially those coming from abroad, and for choosing Gran Canaria as a destination for this event. Actually, I'm quite happy that is here on the committee of... Yeah. Okay, sorry. So especially thank you for doing it here, just as something to remember myself when I started in this project like 6 years ago. Once you start in a new sector or trying to understand how it works, I was trying to search how it was working networks around Europe, and I found EMBRC, and I found EMBRC, and all those concepts that were already working around, no? So the first question that comes to my mind was, why Gran Canaria is not there, no? Because we haven't here institutions that are working with marine resourcing for the last 30 years, that quite international reference as the Spanish Bank of Algae. And my question was, why not to be there in the network? So I remember even addressing the University of Vigo, the Basque Country, to how we can go into this network and this problem. So I'm quite happy that we are already members through the Spanish Bank of Algae and the University of Las Palmas. And congrats on all the work that is being done from the members of the Spanish Bank of Algae. So let's talk about Bioasset Gran Canaria and why we are here. As I mentioned before, the platform was created together with the main institutions that already my colleagues already did my job. Like they introduced all the concepts for experimental areas, for facilities, addressing services for companies, and all the support for SMEs and new projects related with marine resources. And actually Bioasset is about that. It's about with all these initiatives, all these institutions, local ecosystem working together as a unique platform, as a unique window for companies to be recognized as the place to go to ask questions, to ask the first question about locating their activity or collaborating with Gran Canaria. So it was created because from the local government, we listened to our institutions and we discovered that there were some gaps regarding research and companies. So we wanted to be there and facilitate those gaps. Actually, just as a context, the SPEC, the Economic Promotion Agency, is a public entity, non-profit, and our only aim is to create jobs in Gran Canaria. So we address different sectors from different perspectives, and actually we have some tools that are available for companies to work in Gran Canaria. Some of these tools are about investment and financing tools. Actually, there is also a talent tool for training and employment. And also, we work with different initiatives for a specific sector. Let's mention something like digital animation. 5 years ago, there were no producing agency here in the Canaries, but now we are working with more than 5 producing agencies and more than 100 employments directly for producing. This is something that happens when you create an ecosystem with the tools, with the right tools, with the right regulation, with the right facilities. And this is some concept that we are replicating in other sectors. That's why with Digital Crea, with the digital and film industry, and also with other sectors, as my partner Monica mentioned before about port and maritime activities, we believe that we can create this kind of ecosystem. And since that, for the last 6 years, we are working through BioAsys to create an ecosystem regarding blue biotech and aquaculture. For this, the main reason is that we consider the island, we consider Gran Canaria as an oasis for the marine biodiversity. We consider our conditions, our factors are really competitive factors to create this local ecosystem based on endogenous competitive factors, favorable environmental and climatic condition, existing operational regulatory framework. That I will come to that as well, because this is something very relevant to create an actual ecosystem, and the main barriers come through this framework, through this regulatory framework, as you probably discussed this morning and in previous sessions. Also, other aspects as tax incentive and financing tools. As well, the already existing capabilities for R&D was a reason to work with these sectors and to listen to those research that have already content to transfer to the sector. Also, and not less important, we work on locations, because actually one of our jobs was to identify locations at sea and on land, and to prepare it for companies to produce in that areas. So I will come to that a little bit later. I think you already know about what's happening in Gran Canaria in the research institutions, who they are, so I will not come into that. But we have an actual network of different interactions working through different departments, water, renewable energies, not only biotech, but different sectors that come together to create these favorable conditions for collaborations. Then through the spec, we create a tool that actually, one of the questions was addressing to that, the incubation for those projects, for those spin-off, for those coming from international investments, and the unique window, the incubation program, how it works. I will come into that. We obtain a fund from national government to create one of the 20 incubators around Spain, and the Blue Biotech is located here in Gran Canaria. It is the only one through this network, national network for high-tech incubators. We can discuss about 3D printing in Barcelona. We can discuss about water in Almeria. We can discuss about circular economy in Extremadura, automotion and health in Galicia, and different other sectors. But in Gran Canaria, we have 2 incubators. One is related with Blue Biotech, and the other one is for ocean data and artificial intelligence related with maritime activities. So the incubator for biotech was addressing for the whole value chain, because we are not the one defining which projects are going to be based on Gran Canaria. The projects are the one to define if this competitiveness that I mentioned fits with their necessities, with their needs. So in these terms, we have projects of the whole value chain of Blue Biotech and aquaculture regarding production, and as well regarding innovation and technological innovation. We are working with different companies for the own nature of the research center that are behind the incubator. So the amount of relationship and collaboration is huge, but then also we have companies incubated that want to establish here their operations for production, for working from Gran Canaria, because they consider these conditions as very competitive. So from the incubator, we design these support tools of this service charge for the incubators. So actually we address from different perspective. The advice service, the specialized advice service, comes through the legal support and also the financing and business support in all the different aspects regarding one promoter want to establish their business in Gran Canaria. They need information, they need to clarify all kind of doubts from the very beginning, how to apply this incentive, how to create the company, how to obtain the authorizations, how to manage all this. We work not only from our ecosystem of local institutions, but also with a consultancy, a specialized consultancy, case by case. So it's something that we adapt through the exact case of the companies. Actually, we also intervene in proposals for developing better regulatory framework with the local government that are the one that have the competencies in aquaculture and biotech. So we try to go together and to implement favorable conditions to those regulatory framework in terms of the new species that could be produced in the Canaries. All these works behind about biodiversity, about the framework. This is somehow very complex in some terms when it comes to all kind of permissions. Also regarding the inputs, outputs, about the wastewater discharge, all these kind of topics are the one that comes with higher complexity. Also, we offer spaces, incubation services for specific spaces for proof of concept or pilots that already my colleague from the ITC explained a little bit. And then also the services for collaborations with the services that naturally the Spanish Bank of Algae and other departments of the university offers. As well, in the place of growth or scaling, some companies come directly to identify locations. So we are quite specialized in this topic about what kind of plots you can do aquaculture and are compatible, to discuss it with the different ownership of the land, when it comes to public ownership, or when it comes to port areas, when it comes to all these kind of topics, and also the institutional support and advice on permitting. So the incubation program is open all year long. So it's something, let's consider a window for businesses to ask about the who I may speak, or how can I start discussing. I need to do a feasibility study about cost efficient, about these kind of topics. So we are the one to receive and then to operate with the different stakeholders, because at the end BioOasis is non-profit. All this is free of charge, is free services, but as well we are our aim is not based on results. So we are not based on this activity to get funded. We are already a institutional tool that is without aim to create numbers. It's just a matter of interlocution to give the inputs to the right partners. If a project needs to collaborate through the Spanish Algae Collection or to the ITC or Eco Aqua Institute, we kind of understand the needs and connect with the right guys. That's it. And actually, this is the investment that we created in Pozo Izquierdo, about 7,000 square meters of prepared land for piloting, the special labs and conditions for the high-tech equipment regarding extraction, processing, plant, and so on. Some of you already know these facilities. I'm not gonna go into detail. And our aim is to position, to create a network. Most of these are already partners of the concept of BioOasis, the main ones directly, but other ones through our network, because through Spanish Bank of Algae we are regarding MIRI, we are regarding Aqua Excel, through Eco Aqua. So the network is huge, and all these companies that work with us, we try to connect them to understand all this network that is happening not only in Gran Canaria but around Europe. And these are the indicators. Right now we are working, or we've been working with 16 companies to receive incubation services. Right now, companies that are already requesting access to the space are, the number is 8. Right now we are working with 2 of them, as Begoña, Monse mentioned before, already located, but we are accompanying other one for the permitting process. The idea is that from these 16, the variation of the profile is huge. I mean, we are right now working on preliminary studies with some of them, and other ones we are waiting for the permitting already. And even the scale of the projects is huge. We are working with 100 million investment for production in aquacultures, in RAS technology for more than 2,000 tons a year. And actually we are working with other one that is, some projects are already public, so there's no confidentiality about that, but some of them are huge projects, 60 million farm for octopus, and also other projects regarding microalgae as well. But in this topic is when it comes to bureaucracy and regulatory framework, and I will love to discuss with you all how it works in the Canaries about this topic. This is it. I will finish here my presentation. I have more slides about Canary aquaculture in the Canaries, about how it works, the list of species for the regulation, how it works, the specific zones for aquaculture at sea, how it works, the planning for territorial planning in Gran Canaria, which lands are compatible, why not, all the opportunities that may find in Gran Canaria about this topic, and also some information about tax action and investment aids for these businesses. For example, in the Canaries, I would just mention that the R&D incentive is quite powerful. Actually, together with the special economic zone, we are discussing about a reduced tax action of 4%. That's probably the lowest rate, corporate rate in Europe. And this is completely protected under European regulatory framework, and is compatible with other incentives. For example, for R&D, just an idea of doing R&D in the Canaries comes up to 75% of deduction, regarding, for example, in mainland 42%, and the technological innovation is 45%, regarding 12% in mainland. So there are like 30 points of advantage to doing this kind of investment in Gran Canaria in comparison with mainland. I cannot go into detail on that, but that's it. Please, I would love to discuss other topics. Thank you.
Juanra, well, thank you very much for this presentation. The scenario is very nice, but still we have to improve some bottlenecks that we have already identified, that most of them are related, or from the biological point of view, are related with the species we can grow in the Canary Island. Regulation is very strict. Even for aquaculture, I mean, animal aquaculture, well, algae are, you know what are algae? When you ask for it in the administration, they don't know what algae are. But even, well, when they talk about marine animals, they don't know exactly also what they are. So this is an important point, that we know that now we are trying to work and compare what is the situation in other mainland Spain autonomies, for example, Galician and Andalusia. But also we know that in Europe there are some other regulatory aspects that are limiting the development of the sector. I don't know how is the situation in Britain, but for example, in Ireland, they have some limitations also for the list of species. So it's something that we have to improve and to share with the politicians and the administration and all these kind of things.
Completely.
What do you think about it?
The idea is like from Bioasis, it's not just me behind. I feel that we are all together on this mission, and I consider our role as activists for creating conscious about that. We need to create more activities regarding production and commercial activity based on the island. So we need to address those departments at the government to be conscious about that, because the regulation that applies nowadays is not adapted for this sector. So we've been like more than 10 years, I can say, avoiding or going through a regulation that is not adapted to this sector. So right now we are working hard to include these new species that you already have on the collection to be included in the biodiversity-based database for the Canary Island. This is the first step, or it need to be considered the first step, because once it's considered native, all the regulations comes different, because if we consider it exotic, it's kind of impossible, no? Or kind of very strict restrictions when it comes to authorization for production, because it comes with the concept of that if we are going to produce non-native species, you can do it, but in a closed system with any kind of risk for deployment and so on. So this is, it comes later on, not just the regulation to obtain an authorization, but also the cost efficiency to produce the microalgae. So when it comes to this, all the business plans like boom, because the cost goes up. And this is something that the regulators need to understand, that if we need to be competitive, it's not just about having the roadmap, it's also trying to adapt to a cost-efficient scenario, and this needs to be working together. And to answer your question, there is a lot of work to do. Most of them is consciousness. Is needed to go to, not to the politician, just to the technicians, to understand that this is not a dangerous or let's say risky activity. We are trying to adapt a new sector, a new production activity in the island, and we need support. We need actually for them to understand and to work with us, because it's there. The interest is there. Right now we are working with huge projects. The sector is closing in Europe. There are the conditions. This message that we give through Bioasis is very well received, because we've been more than 10 years with large projects to be implemented, and these small regulations barriers are the one that we need to unblock.
Yeah. In my opinion, you know, and mostly in the last month, we have the light on. It seems that we are far from Europe, but nowadays in Morocco, for example, there are a lot of activity, and they are open the possibilities to many companies to go there and to work on aquaculture and algal biotechnology also. So do you think that this could be something that can push that we have to go ahead faster than we are doing now here in the Canary Islands?
In my impression, there is not a huge barrier. We are talking about small details, and most of this detail is based on bad information, or is based on communication problems. So it's just a matter of having the right guy behind who is willing to listen to the experts. The only support that we need from the institution is to create this commission of experts. It's not just a guy having their opinion, it's a group of experts to have their opinion, and this is the first step. So I think with these small changes, we are on time because this is something important. It's not about doing it 10 years from now, it's right now. And probably we are a little bit too late, because it's happening. As you mentioned, from Morocco, there are huge projects going on. In South Spain, you already know about the already existence production facilities, and it's happening. Also, Portugal is doing it quite well. You can feel it even in the transparency for the procedure. Something simple like the local entities to address the authorization is very well organized through a national level, and you can do the follow-up on all the procedure. This is something that we need to work within the regions. Okay. Thank you. Thank you all.
So we finish on time.
Microphone.
Yes, I don't know the bus is already there. Okay, just have a nice evening.
Just for EVP capitalization purposes, can we take a picture of everyone?
Yeah, sure, we will. Just remember that tomorrow morning, the first activity we have is the visit to the Spanish Bank of Algae. We will wait for you there, and what time is the bus? It's the same. So we will move down there, which is 25 minutes from Las Palmas, and then we will be there 1 hour and a half, and then we will come back to here to go ahead with the sessions, right?
We can stay longer there.
Yeah. I have one of you.